Hi friends, I'm Colonel Failure and you're watching me, Colonel Failure, in a series called Get Back to Work, which you've possibly ascertained already from the video title, which is a series in which I get back to work. Every clue is right there waiting for you. You don't need any of this introduction at all. Anyway, I'm in the farm simulator, which is something else I didn't need to tell you, because it's very obvious that's what I'm in today. And I'm going to ask her another question. Today's question comes from Nathan. And it's an interesting one, and as much as I've been aware of the question for some time now, I haven't got an answer. Right, last time we were here on the farm, I spread around some horse detritus. Cows. The other kind of horse. Detritus all over this field and another. In order to prepare it for the growing season, which is not for a little while yet, and that's good. So it's properly prepared, and now I'm ploughing it under to get the old fertilisation to really take hold in the cold summer months. What's the matter with you? Why don't you try thinking once before you open your mouth? I haven't ever needed to in the past. Why do you think I will do now? Anyway, you know where I'm going. I'm going to plough all this under, and then I'm going to lime it. That's what we're doing today. We're going to lime it after I've ploughed it under, and that'll be magical. Yeah, it will. Anyway, today's question comes from Nathan, and Nathan is a long time. He's old enough to know better. Watches me Transport Fever 2 videos, and he found himself thinking. I'm going to paraphrase, and then I'll cut to exactly what he's written. He found himself thinking like, I'm building these lovely environments here, and would I actually choose to live in it? Anyway, switching over to the direct quotation. I've been a long-time console gamer and started getting into the PC games recently. I love building my own little worlds in Transport Fever 2, and can't help but wondering what it would be like to live in one of them. So my question is, if you had to live in one game forever, which would it be and why? I mean, obviously I'm going to tell you the why. I could just kind of go, Tetris. Thanks very much. I've been Colonel Failure. It would be good, but not great. As the fever isn't on the list, you want Train Sim World. Well, I filed you in the wrong place. No, this is Nathan asked for Train Sim World, and you're doing farming. All right. In which case, Nathan, what I'll do is, I read the wrong item off the list. What I'll do is I'll do a farming video that was asked for in farming. I'll do it in Train Sim World because I've started now, and I'm feeling that the joie de vivre that is going on in this video so far is a good pace. So I apologise for doing this in the wrong game, but the right game will come with the wrong topic later on. Meanwhile, you get to enjoy my driving a tractor up and down a field, and that's delightful too. So apologies, but no apologies. And I'm pressing on regardless, because chaos, we embrace it. We embrace the chaos. The chaos is joyous and fun and keeps us all on our toes. Which world would I live in? All right, well, let's go for some criteria. If I think of the criteria that I would want from living in a game-based world, then that's a good place to start. And from that criteria, we could then work out where would you want to be. Broadly, you always start out with the choice of, are you just existing in that world, a la a work sim, where the world is pretty benign and it's going to leave you alone for the most part, but as a result, you don't really do anything heroic. I mean, all I'm really doing here in this work sim and others like it is repeating the same tasks over and over again in order to earn a bit more cash, to buy stuff that allows me to do slightly different tasks, or the tasks that I am already familiar with in a slightly different way. Now that's fine, because I quite like the methodical nature one can employ in this game. I'm quite enjoying just driving up and down this field, despite the fact that to the outside viewer it might be the most tedious thing in the world. So that's option one, is the world benign, or is the world out to get you in some fashion, and you're a heroic or anti-heroic character? Tricky. I don't have an answer to that one yet, but let's put that down as a criteria. Second thing on the criteria list is that in a world such as this one, you're on your own. You know, there's precious little company going on, and that's obviously something that I've become acutely aware of over the last few months. Is that being alone is a different state of mind, and as much as I am quite self-sufficient with regard to being able to make my own amusement, on a regular basis I miss having the company. Putting it to one side, that the company in question was she who I chose above all others. It's that's a tricky one. So would you want to be on your own? And if you weren't on your own, so if you were inhabiting a populated world, I mean, this is sort of populated in the sense that there are NPCs driving cars like maniacs up and down the road occasionally. Would that be enough? I would say probably not. You're going to go, but multiplayer. You kind of go, well, if we're allowing multiplayer as an option, either that or you've got nothing, or your idyllic game world is populated by nothing but automatons. Yeah, do you want just automatons, or do you want someone else to share it with? I do want someone else to share it with, and that someone else is no longer here, which is a pain in the bum. But hey, I'm living in a game world, so everything is possible. Yeah, right. Yeah, I'll have my missus back, please, and we'll have a shared game world that we can both experience together. Done. In fact, I have a feeling I know where we're going. Right. So. World is benign. Are you doing it on your own, or have you got company? I've got company, and given that I make the rules, I have my missus back. Thank you very much. That'll do nicely. Well, frankly, at that point, you can put us in any world you like, and I'll be quite happy. Okay. What else would it be? All right. Do you want somewhere wrought with violence and an adventure? Wrought with violence and adventure. Well, I think if you're going to be heroic, then have a heroic experience in which to reside. Might be quite depressing though. That's the thing. Is because all of these violence-strewn worlds in which one may live, they tend to, as much as you clean it up quite regularly, it ends up being all violence again pretty soon after. It is a very measure of futility. If you're in a cyberpunk, which is my own poison, or a Grand Theft Auto, or any one of these kind of open worldy kind of deals, Red Dead's Redemption, even something as seemingly harmless as a Minecraft. There are grots out there, and they just keep coming back. They are going to perpetually come back and hassle you when all you want is a potato. And therefore, you do run the risk of it being a little bit... you run the risk of it being a little bit grim and a little bit futile. You'd be existing without hope. Oh, yeah, I know. You've got to have some level of hope in there. But I have landed on a game. I've reached it. As soon as I knew that I could bring company, then I landed on a game, and that game is Star Wars: The Old Republic. Yeah. Why Star Wars: The Old Republic? Well, it's because of a very, 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 very happy time I spent playing that game with herself. We both played it together, and we both played as Sith. Obviously, I mean, no one in their right mind wants to play as a Jedi. What a bunch of squares! No, so we played as the Sith. I was a Sith Marauder, and she was a Sith Inquisitor, and she was the one with the bad attitude, while I was following around everywhere, apologising. Now, it had a really great mechanic in it as a kind of a plot tool, right? Is every time you go into a cutscene, for a massively multiplayer game, it was best played as a co-op game rather than massively multiplayer. There would be other people charging around in your environment, but as a co-op game, it was phenomenal. And we played through the entire co-op game, covering both stories for both characters, and that will have taken 100 plus hours. We did it over about 6 months, I think, and it was absolutely delightful. But in a cutscene where you've got, you know, conversation-based decisions on how you behave in that situation, it does a dice roll to see. So you both make your answer of what you're going to say to the character who's talking, and then it does a dice roll to see whose answer gets put forward. And without exception, her answer was always, "I shall kill them all," or "there will be no survivors," or whatever led to the most aggressive and violent outcropping. Whereas I was a Sith with a code of honour. You know, no, we shall not kill the younglings. No, we'll be nice to them. We might send them to bed with no supper, but that's the worst they'll get from me. Whether she'll be like, kill them all, and therefore rapidly, given that we were having a rare old time playing this, it would devolve into my character backing out of the room after she'd killed everyone in the room. Obviously, she'd kick the fight off and I'd pile in, because she was all lightning hands, right? And I was like double lightsabers and lots of jumping. That was my move. So obviously I'd be jumping in order to take all of the aggression that the opposition had, while she would be instigating it in the first place. And so I'd back out of the room after we'd killed everyone, apologising profusely, going, sorry, that one got a little bit out of hand. But really, you shouldn't have tried her like that. That was always going to happen. That was inevitable. So living in that world, you've got, firstly, you are characters with superpowers, effectively. Even as a low-level Sith, you've got but you're evil. No, that's the thing that is perhaps misrepresented. Is the unflinching nature of the Jedi Order leads them to be every bit as, maybe not evil, but callous. You know, if they have to remove all emotion from everything they do, where are the likes of compassion and empathy? The Jedi are every bit as big a bunch of scumbags as the Sith. Now, admittedly, the benefit the Sith have, of course, is that they don't shy away from it. They don't pretend to be all sweetness and light all the time. They go, no, I know what I want, and I'm going to get it, and you're going to do it, or I'm going to force choke the heck out of you until such a time as I go a little bit too far and have to appoint your replacement. Which is, as far as kind of a military tactic is concerned, it's flawed. Because inevitably, the best of your best is going to hose it at some point, and you end up force choking them out, and you kind of go like, right, who's the second best person in this organisation? Now, fast forward, and by a couple of years, and you're down to, right, who's the 756th best person in this organisation? And Lars, the T-boy, turns up and goes, hello, I'm your next general in charge of the entire army. And you kind of go, thanks, Lars. All right, don't fail me. Lars goes, can I resign? And you go, no, but we do have a retirement plan that maybe you won't find quite so agreeable. So, you've got that, but you're not being all like, oh, we're good and fabulous, but you're not allowed to feel anything about anybody. No, Jedi are a bunch of manipulative wusses. Yeah, it's very much like the Vorlons versus the Shadows. Yeah, I've gone to Babylon 5 now. You see, the Vorlons were always like, what do you want? Huh? Like a flipping genie or something, right? And they give them what they want, and whereas the Shadows would go, who do you want us to rub out? Yeah, we'll go scrag them for you. And so the Vorlons, bunch of scumbags. Yeah. The Shadows are honest in their violence and dishonesty, you see. Yeah. Honest villains versus your sly heroes. So I'd be okay with going Sith. I think that wouldn't be too much of a problem. As long as I could actually throw this. No game has ever made me angrier at the storyline ever than Star Wars: The Old Republic. You get an assistant, right? Over the course of the adventure, you pulled, you'll get like half a dozen waifs and strays that you've accumulated from across the galaxy, and one of them gets to come with you on your missions as your assistant. You can only take one at a time, and you tend to pick the one that is what you need the most. So you've got a melee combat one, you've got a tank, you've got a not a physical tank. I'm talking in MMO terms, all right. So you might need to gen up on the lingo there, and what else? Yeah. This is and a healer and someone who chucks out buffs and all of that kind of thing. Now, because I was doing melee, I chose this Imperial officer as my supporting guy, and I went, yeah, have an Imperial officer in support. That makes a lot of sense, because he was a healer, right? He got a shooter and he was a healer, perfect. Because I'd get beaten to a pulp on a regular basis, and herself would chuck the occasional minor heal at me because she was too busy, doing the lightning. So having a healer along for the ride was great. One of the later storylines in the game, I've told this story before, but you might not have heard it, so I'm telling it again. One of the later storylines in the game, the Imperial officer betrays you to your arch rival. Betrays you. Sells you out to your arch rival. And this is the guy who'd been on every mission with me from the year dot. I'd got him, proper pimp, Imperial uniform armor and whatnot, and all of that stuff. He was, I'd kitted him out. He was like an essential part of myself, and he sold me out to an arch rival. And as soon as I found that out, I went, right, please escort yourself to the airlock, upon which I shall flush you into space. Or can I please force choke him to death? I'm a Sith, after all. This is how we handle betrayal, is we kill them. And none of those options persisted. I was not allowed to kill him. And I was furious. Just utterly livid at the fact that I was not allowed to enact the vengeance that this deceitful, traitorous scum had dared to perpetrate on me, and it wouldn't let me kill him. More than that, I had to keep. He still hung around on the ship, and I was just like, no, this will not do. So I stripped him of all his equipment, and I left him on the bridge, and I blanked him from that point on. Never referenced him again. He was dead to me. If I couldn't make him actually dead, which I should have been able to do, it was a very Sith thing to do, entirely within character, and totally should have been allowed. But at the same time, it's game breaking. Yeah, but the game, if that's game breaking, you've set your game up wrong. Frankly, yeah, because which Sith Lord is going to go, it's all right, mate, forget about it? No, none of them, not one. They're all going to go, oh dear. Well, that was a foolish decision on your part, wasn't it? I hope you've learned your lesson. Yes, my lord, I most certainly have. And you kind of go, right, well, still going to kill you, though. Whether you've learned your lesson or not, I've got a reputation to uphold, and that reputation is, you betray me, you die. Really, this was probably 15 years ago, and I'm still angry about it now. Video games, they are the best. So yes, I'd live in the Old Republic. You get your own spaceship, and if I lived there, I could chuck him out of the airlock. A wrong could be righted. Oh, this is getting better all the time. Oh yeah. No, any indecision I may have had previously that's gone. Nope, that's totally where I'm going. I'm gonna go right the wrongs in the Old Republic, hang out with my missus, and apologise when she's too violent towards everyone. Perfect. Yes, there you go. That's my final answer. That's the one. Nailed it. Now, let's assume that none of the above was actually possible, in that herself can't really join me. Then I probably would end up going solo, or go somewhere with Stegs, because that'd at least be, it would be quite funny. Planet Coaster. I wouldn't mind living in Planet Coaster, forever running a theme park and making it more and more outrageous and commercially vindictive. That would be That would be quite joyous. Oh yeah. I wouldn't mind going into being Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk's a great game, and I enjoyed Cyberpunk from the very second it released, because it made you feel like a total badass, just immediately. Now, I mean, you can say, well, that's partly because the old villains, their decision-making processes and the AI, it's not that smart. And you kind of go, yeah, but I feel like a total badass. You know, whether I'm hacking 15 of them from 3.5 miles away and then just strolling in with a lump hammer to finish one off, magic, or slowing down time, doing a knee slide from 3.5 miles away before cutting them in half with a katana. Pretty cool. Or using an overpowered sniper rifle to off many of them at once before they clock where you are, at which point you go piling in with a pair of pistols or a shotgun and just offing them all, probably from 3.5 miles away. Then you just feel cool. The only thing that undermines it really is that it is set in a world that fashion forgot. The wardrobe choices in that game fall somewhere between bad and disastrous. Yeah, it's just. There was a big thing a couple of years ago in The Sims, and I'm not a Sims player. I have been a Sims player in the past, mostly when I worked on it. But the big thing recently was, why is there nothing good for girls to wear? Why are the female characters so lackluster when it comes to the wardrobe options that they've got? And the same is true in Cyberpunk as well, except it's not just the female characters, it's the male characters. With the female characters specifically, I think it was skirts that didn't work so well. And you kind of go, but this is a game that appeals to everybody, but of all the games out there, it probably has more female appeal than any other. I know this from demographics of people who played it while I was working on it, is that it was dominated by girls gaming on it, and women and girls, the female folk were very keen on it. Now, not exclusively. I mean, I like playing it myself, but then I quite liked playing it and waiting till. One of my favourite occurrences was I built a hot tub. The local neighbourhood all came round, hung out in the hot tub. Someone else was not in the hot tub, and she was outside playing with fireworks. She launched a firework, it landed in the hot tub, killed everybody in it, and I was delighted. That was fantastic. Just putting them in a swimming pool and drowning them, yeah, that's passé. No, what you want is launching a firework and killing everybody in a hot tub as a result of that. You would think the hot tub would put the firework out. You would think that it would be quite hard to burn to death while in a hot tub. Well, let me tell you, that's not true. Yeah, no, it's but a lack of female clothing options was always raised, and Cyberpunk's the same kind of deal. Is an awful lot of the costume choices that you have as a player character are just bad. Hats, that's their weakness. Hats is their biggest weakness, and the fact, and I don't understand why this is. Now, I mean, they will have cut some corners, or rather, not necessarily cut some corners, but they will have saved time by not going as overboard with options as they could have done. But hairstyles, they've got a wide variety of funky looking hairstyles, and then you've got a palette of maybe 15 hair colours. And you kind of go, why haven't I got an unlimited palette of hair colours? If you're just rehuing a hairstyle, that's the kind of thing that can be done on the fly. And the majority of these hair colour combinations you've got going on are bad. So I don't understand that, no, but there it is. Yeah. No, I genuinely don't understand that choice, but that's just me. Because if you're inhabiting the character, it's all important to get to choose what you look like and like what you look like when you're done. And that's Star Wars was pretty good for that. Not as good as Galaxies. Star Wars Galaxies had a far better character creator. And as far as ambition for a massively multiplayer game, magnificent. But they got a big thing wrong in that game. And the thing that they got wrong was the introduction of Jedi. Jedi ruin everything is the headline. Yeah, because immediately you had all of these witless fanboys who just wanted to be a Jedi in the game. And that was before you got into combat characters, combat players, who would gripe endlessly about the fact of different weapons being overpowered. And one of the conversations I saw was that they were complaining that that using a two-handed pike, you know, not a force weapon or anything like that. No, it's just a two-handed bit of metal on a stick, wasn't as powerful in combat as the combat flamethrower. And for me, I was like, and you're expecting a bit of metal on a stick to be as powerful as a combat flamethrower? In what universe? No. Because then it comes down to personal choice, right? If you want to be Captain Uber and always win every combat situation you find yourself in, then yeah, use the combat flamethrower. If, however, you want to be slightly more unique and slightly more interesting, then go for an underpowered weapon. Sure, you might lose some engagements, but your character will be that much more interesting. It's a problem with MMOs, and it's a problem that came about in MMOs because of EverQuest first and foremost, but then subsequently World of Warcraft, which took the EverQuest format and perfected it. World of Warcraft is an exceptional piece of MMO design, except it destroyed MMOs forever. Because it took away freedom to decide for players. There was, from that point on, boilerplate, template approaches to making a character, and if you didn't do it that way, you would be at a disadvantage and arguably have a lot less fun. So yeah, everything became, you know, chase the next piece of gear and chase the next skill level and all of that kind of business, rather than allowing you to choose what you wanted to be. And in Galaxies, the introduction of Jedi was a huge mistake because everybody started chasing after being a Jedi, and you go, well, what's the problem with that? And kind of go, well, if you're treating it as canon, this game takes place in between the first two movies. There are two Jedi remaining in the entire universe. One of which is a Lucas Skywalker. The other one is your boy Yoda. Right? And on the Sith side of the balance, you've got the boy Darth Vader and his buddy, the Emperor Palpatine. And therefore, who are all these people that are queuing up to be Jedi? Where are they getting this from? And worse still, to become a Jedi, you had to just grind through loads of different skills in order to unlock a Jedi Force holocron or some such. It was total rubbish. Utter garbage in terms of design. Total garbage. What I would have done, had I been in charge, is I would have said, no. Half of the beauty of the mythos surrounding the Force and surrounding the Jedi is not understanding how it works, not understanding how these things come about. This is before the Midichlorians, just so you're aware. This is, Phantom Flipping Menace hadn't come out at that point, where the boy Lucas really did hose it. I mean, he hosed it in as catastrophic a way as it's possible to hose anything. Those first three movies are just such a travesty. They got some nice bits in it, but it's diabolical. How to destroy... Nobody needed to know how the Force worked, right? No one needs to know. We didn't care. It wasn't important. Why am I trying to park this here? This is not where this lives. Yeah, we didn't need to know. The Force is just a thing that happens and some people are great at it. Good. Got it. Sold. Yep. Don't need any more explanation than that. Yep. Maybe it can be passed on in a hereditary kind of a fashion. Fine. Cool. Groovy. I'm into it. Whatever. Not bothered. Some of them have got it. Some of them haven't. And those who haven't tend to have guts. Cool. Moving on. The way I would have done it is I would have appointed a member of the team inside the building to go to each and every server and just start following players around. Invisibly. Just start following them around invisibly. And look for a player who, if they suddenly became a Jedi, would be a really interesting Jedi, would play as a really interesting character, and turn them into a superstar. All players were eligible, but you would be looking for this person exhibits all the characteristics that would enrich this game. And you could have it so that there was only ever one Jedi and only ever one Sith at present in the game at any one time. And when one of them was killed, then a new one would turn up, and you would never explain how you became the Force-sensitive character. You'd have people up in arms about it when they found out there were only one. You would have so many theories about, no, you have to go and do this, and then that, and then this, in order to become Force-sensitive. When in fact, it would have been someone who was curated, and maybe it would be a dancer the first time around. That'd be cool. Maybe it would be a chef. Who knows? Because all these things were possible in galaxies, right? As you choose a profession. And you had the whole universe to play around in. There are many things that they came close to getting right, but because it wasn't making as much money as Sony, who were publishing it at the time, wanted, they ended up chucking out the baby with the bathwater, and they got rid of the lead designer. Yeah. And the lead designer really knew what they were doing. Yeah. I can't remember his name. Hold on. It'll come to me. No, every time I think of it, I go to Richard Garriott. And you kind of go, no, it's not Richard Garriott. It's because he was also the lead designer on Ultima Online as well. And he wrote a book, a very good book called A Theory of Fun. And his name, Raph Costa. There you go. It's in there somewhere. Everything's in there somewhere. And they got rid of him. Raph had a great vision for what this game should be. And it was, you get to live in the Star Wars universe. I'm back on topic almost. You get to live on in the Star Wars universe, and you just live there. How cool would that be? You know, do you want to be a bounty hunter? Do you want to be a droid engineer? Do you want to be an architect? You know, there's all these kinds of cool and interesting jobs that you could do in the game, but you just get to live there. No, you don't get to be Luke Skywalker. It's not that game. It's just such a great vision for it. And I was wholeheartedly bought in. Here's one notion that I had about it. I wanted, in that game, I wanted to be a Jawa. I wanted to own a sandcrawler and have a mobile sandcrawler bar on Tatooine. And I posed this in the suggestions from the players box, and they said, no, you couldn't be that, because Jawas aren't found on other planets other than Tatooine. And my response was, and I'm fine to take that limitation in order to be the thing that I want to be. I don't need to go to other planets. No, it's fine. I'm quite happy to stay on one planet with the limitation imposed upon me. Similarly, I would have let people sign up for, because that's my choice. I wouldn't be forced to do it. I wouldn't be forced to be a Jawa and stay on one planet. But you kind of go, if you're a Jawa, you can't leave the planet. You're going to go, okay then. Or you kind of go, oh no, leaving the planet really sounds like fun, so no, maybe that's not for me after all. But then when you do meet Jawas in the game, you kind of go like, this person is playing that knowing that they're limited to one planet only. You know, that's dedication. Equally, they came up with a sort of a combat PvP type of thing that allowed you to play for the rebels or for the Empire. And you go, great. Except, of course, you weren't. You were mercenaries playing for the Empire. You weren't actually stormtroopers. And and everyone's going, well, I want to be a stormtrooper though. And they go, well, no, because you know you'd have to be a stormtrooper all the time. You don't get time off as a stormtrooper. And my argument is the same again. Fine, because then if someone is desperate enough to do it, make them stand guard or walk patrols around Corellia. There will be many people who kind of go, no, that limitation cuts off too much of the game from me, I'm not interested. While others would go, I am totally into that as a concept, totally into it. I'm prepared to be told what I have to do. Not an option. You can even go so far as to say, like, you must turn up for this duty shift in order to receive commendations, in order to get your rank up towards the next level of authority or whatever. And people would do it. Never underestimate your players. Never underestimate how much a player will go through to achieve that thing they want. And yeah, that was my big takeaway from that. Anyway, there you go. Terrific question, Nathan. Hope you enjoyed Train Sim Worlds. Yeah, I goofed that up, but I think the thrust of the conversation was already going in the right direction. So there will be a Train Sim World that should have been a farm simulator, and someone's going to pull a disappointed face, and you could commiserate together. You're welcome. I'm nothing if not. I'm Colonel Failure. I'll be back soon with another one of these. This has been Get Back to Work, and I will catch up with you very soon. Thanks for watching. Cheerio.